So the last part of this, before we just open it up for any question, is going to be about how do you measure your performance? What are the metrics you should care about? How do you generate reports and see, are your SEO efforts working or not? So I'll hand it over to Olivia to talk about some of these important metrics.
Yeah, so now that we've kind of covered what SEO is and how to execute it, it's important to know how to monitor and measure your efforts. So, one way is just those SERP results. So, how are you showing up in the search engine and how are you visible? How visible are you to your users? What do your users see when you do show up? Are they seeing that meta description? Are they getting a title that makes sense? All those types of things. How are users engaging with you? So, where are you showing up in relation to your competition? Lots of different elements go into these search engine result pages. Have you secured rich and featured snippets? All of those elements kind of work together to help you sort of see how you function in search results and how you can continue to optimize to do so in a meaningful way. So your website, we talked about how to measure or how to find out what your domain authority is. Ways to improve that would be like Nick talked about. So seeking out maybe guest posts, guest blogs, citations, all these different things to get links to your own site from other reputable resources. Um, Coverage. So we talked about how much of your site is actually indexed by Google, making sure your sitemap is up to date, making sure that your site speed is optimized in a way that a crawler can quickly get through and index as much as possible. And what percentage of your traffic is organic? We talked about that at least 50% threshold. We like to see that higher, but at least half of your traffic, the goal would be for that to be organic. So measuring whether or not that has increased as a result of your SEO efforts. It's also important to think about landing pages. So how many different pages are sort of a main entrance point for your users, and how are users engaging with those pages? So it's nice to have multiple kind of entrance points to your site rather than just the home page, and being able to leverage those to target specific personas, excuse me, or specific audience members. So just keeping that in mind, that that's a way you can leverage your site. And then user behavior. So again, how are users actually engaging with your site? How long are they staying on the page? How many pages do they view within any given session? Is your number of new users increasing? So are you attracting new traffic to your site? And are those users converting? So are they taking a meaningful action on your site, and are you measuring that? So all of those things kind of play into different metrics that you can take a look at to measure your SEO impact. So there are some free tools available to help you measure these things. One Nick already talked about is Google Search Console. So Search Console really allows you to see your site the way that Google sees it, which is extremely beneficial to your efforts in SEO. So it's free. Again, you don't have to install anything. It just sort of exists and has this backlog of data that's really meaningful for us to be able to dig into. So verifying your site ownership, like Nick mentioned, is important. And it also identifies alerts. So if something is broken on your site, or Google is having trouble accessing a certain page, or like Nick mentioned, if the schema markup for any specific event or job listing is invalid or no longer viable, so the event date has passed, those kinds of things, Search Console can sometimes bring up alerts to tell you, hey, take this down. Google's not liking this kind of thing, to avoid negatively impacting your indexing and the way that you show up in SERPs.
Yeah, here's some examples. It's just a couple screens. Search result. This is so it's broken up into sort of like performance and health of your site in these different categories. So here you can see, for specific keywords and specific devices, sort of the different performance. And this is a great tool because it's free. Some of the other tools that show you this are paid. And so this tool may not be super user friendly, but it's free. So I mean, you really might as well take advantage of it. And then here's part of it where you can actually put any URL in from your site and literally pull the page as the Google crawling engine to show you any issues. And this is also, like we said, where you submit sitemaps. So you're seeing here a sitemap where we've sent it to Google and it's showing that it's read it and how many URLs it's found. You're kind of like spoon feeding Google the data just to make it easier. So that's always good. A major one too is Google Analytics. People confuse analytics and Search Console sometimes. Analytics, you do have to install this on your site, right? It has to be installed on your site. The best way to install it is through another Google tool, which is called Tag Manager, which isn't solely an SEO tool, but it helps a lot with it. That will let you create custom types of tracking, which you can then see in Google Analytics. So analytics is important. I mean, most of you probably have seen Google Analytics. And that's also a key tool, especially for looking at, what is your mix of organic traffic? Is that going up? What's your mix of returning versus new? And as you can do SEO efforts, you can see how it's affecting your site. But of course, keep in mind what you do today is not going to affect your Google Analytics for months and months and months. So it's definitely a long game. An honorable mention tool too we'll talk about in a minute. This is some more reports here. So it's kind of showing the breakdown of organic, the different sources, organic, direct, social, that kind of thing. Honorable mention tool here is one we use a lot for reporting, and it's another free Google tool. So this is Google Data Studio, which is free, not the most user-friendly reporting tool, because again, it's kind of free, but there are some templates you can get to help you get started. So this tool you may want to use beyond analytics if you want to do very custom reporting that analytics doesn't support, or pull in reports from your, donation tool and Google Analytics and social tracking and all of that, right? So you could see you have a donation campaign going. You want to see how many donations are coming from Facebook or this place or that place, correlate it to other data from your database of donations, this tool, you can kind of do anything you want in. So, and make it look like however you want. So we do very custom reports for each client. We'll do different reports based on what they care about. So the customization is really nice, far beyond what you can do in analytics. We have to get through these tools pretty quick so we can have time for questions. But one last area is paid tools. Which are really broken down into three kind of categories: tools that will crawl your site, so give you different information or more information than Google would give you. Google crawls your site too, but these crawlers are custom for you to help you do different types of SEO work. Then there's sort of management. So most of the management types of paid systems may have crawlers built in as well, but then they allow you to do other things like disavow bad backlinks in bulk, or bulk run keyword discovery, or do all kinds of things, right? And then another class of tool is typically reporting. And there are some Supermetrics, Databox. These are paid tools, mostly just focusing on reporting. And some of the tools do it all. So this is a tool, SEMrush, which is kind of our go-to SEO tool, and Olivia is really becoming a wizard at it. And it just, like we said, SEO is so many different skills. It's so tedious. There's so much data involved that these tools really help. They just give you so much more power to do things very, very quickly. Run link building campaigns, analyze your pages, check on page things, get an audit of your site health, keep track of all the positions. Are you going up and down for certain keywords in the rankings? And while you could potentially find all this out with separate tools that are free, it would take you 10 times as long. So just like this visibility report here is really pulling stuff directly from Search Console, but for you to understand it in Search Console, you would need to look at 20 different pages. I mean, it would take a long time. So this tool basically It's just giving you a super easy snapshot view of that. And so those are kind of, if anything, you're gonna pay for a tool if you're gonna do that. Hopefully, look for one which kind of has some of all that crawling, reporting, management, all combined. This tool, someone just asked which tool. This is SEM Rush. So if you go to semrush.com, you can check that out. It's not super inexpensive. It's, it's going to cost some money. I don't even know, I can't remember how much, but what we do for our clients, if we have an ongoing SEO collaboration with you, if you're one of our clients, this is just a tool that we buy and we use for everything. So like our clients don't need to purchase it separately. And same with the reporting, all of that stuff. We kind of do all of it for every one of our projects. So